everybody, let's hop in here and take a look at building out a little Node application. So first thing we want to do is launch your favorite editor. My favorite editor just happens to be Visual Studio Code. And I am going to show you guys how to go ahead and get this guy all set up and started. So what we want to do first is make sure we got Node installed first off. So all of this precludes the installation of Nodejs. And we're going to go ahead and init our Node project. So we'll say npm init. And it's going to try to give us the name of 5 Minute Friday episode 3. But we want to just call it image helper. And we will set that up. The next thing we want to do is go ahead and look at our package.json and set up a new piece here. It's called bin. It is an array or a object here, and it will have our bin here. So if we say image helper, we actually want to pipe this to the index.js file. So this will give us our command line. So what you'll say is you'll say image helper and you give it the directory and properties from there. So that's how that works. So we're going to make this be our executable. So we'll go ahead and save that. The next thing we want to do is install all of our packages. And I already have a list of them here. We're going to install the async module, exif tool, and also command line args, because we want to take in command line. So we're going to go ahead and install that. The next thing we want to do is drop into our directory a little project called exif tool. So I'm going to do that real quick. So you see that show up here. So here's exif tool. And that will help us do some manipulation to our exif and copywriting so that when we share these images with somebody, they have our copyrights embedded. So that's how that works. The next thing we need to do is go ahead and create the actual index.js. So once we have index.js, we can actually start playing with this a little bit more. We want to actually set up that we want to know that it's starting up. So we're going to say console log starting up. And let's go ahead and check this. So if we say node, we want to execute index.js, hit enter, we'll see starting up. That came from the console log here, and this is running that way. The next thing we want to do is make sure that we can get some command line args to this. So we want to be able to get our source and who our copyright is to. So let's go ahead and hook that up. So I'm using the command line args node library, and it has a couple things that we have to do to get started. We got to define what we want it to actually look for. So we're going to look for the source. This is the source folder. The next thing we want to look for is who the copyright is to. So we're going to put this as our options definitions. The next thing we want to do is make sure that we can actually get our options out. So this method called against the options def will get us our options for use down the road. The next thing we want to do is go ahead and set up our metadata for how this is going to look inside of our exif. So if we do that, we basically want to create our metadata. And what I want to do here is I'm going to clear all of the metadata, and then I'm going to set the copyright to the year, and then I'm going to set to the copy. So whoever we put in the copy, we'll go ahead and have it there, as well as the creator. So the creator will have the copy here as well. Okay, that's kind of our initial setup. Let's go ahead and I'll pick a folder on my machine that has a bunch of images on it. So these are my family pictures from the Eclipse. We want to go ahead and look through all the JPEG images and update them with exif. So if we go ahead and we open up one of these guys, we'll see in the details that there's just a date taken and there's no copyright or authors. None of this is in here at this point in time. So that's what we want to do, is update those to have that. So what we need to do is set up a couple arguments. So The first argument is going to be the folder that we're connecting to. The next argument, -c, which is the alias here, or you can say --, copy. I prefer just to use a short alias. We're going to give it my name. And that will actually set up our output. So if we say console log metadata, we'll be able to see the output of this guy. So right here, it'll set the copyright like this, and that's what's going to be set on the images. So now we want to go find all the images in this folder that we just passed in. So we need another library. It is the FS library. So we're going to get FS library, which is a file system, and we're also going to get path, so we can combine some paths, and then we're also going to get the async library, which we installed earlier, as well as the exif tool library as well. So we're just going to get all these installed and we'll start coding here. First thing we want to do is pull all our files in. So a quick way to do that is we just want to read the source, and we can actually get those files in and see them. So right here's all of our files. If we want to see what this looks like, we can say console.log, and we can say files, and we'll be able to see all of our files. So if we run that, you'll see here's all of the files inside there. There's a couple MOVs and stuff like that. They're in there as well. We're gonna not touch those. So the first thing we need to do is hook up our asynchronous capability, because when we actually execute this exif tool, we're going to need to have that as async. So let's go ahead and set that guy up. So we're going to use the async command, and we're going to use each series, because it's very critical that we have that thing run async instead of running synchronous, because when it calls the exif stuff, it actually runs away from Node. It's going to run this exe file and then come back to Node. So we have to wait for it to finish each time. So right here, we're getting all of our files. And then what I want to do is just throw an if statement in here. That if it is a JPEG or a lowercase JPEG, we want to process it. Now this is very ghetto, but it's this is also supposed to be in just 5 minutes. So, if we hook this up, we just want to return a callback if it's not something we want. But let's go ahead and log these so that we can see what's coming through. So right here, we are going to go ahead and see, we're going to use path parse, and that gives us our extension. If they match, then we'll go ahead and output this log. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So down here, we have found just the one. Oh, we need to add another callback in here. So right here, we're going to have each one of these called. I'm going to go ahead and remove this console.log and our metadata console.log so that it's a little cleaner for us. So we're outputting all these different files. So the next thing we need to do is we want to, and the documentation for these libraries is in their libraries, and I'll put the links to the libraries and the links below. But we're going to call the EP method. So right here is our exif tool process. And in the documentation, it shows us something very similar to this. We want to open that particular file. We're going to open the exif tool, and then we're going to go ahead and write the metadata to option, source, and items. Right here, we're joining the path of the file and our root, and then we're going to go ahead and update our metadata, which comes from up here, and then we're going to go ahead and set it to UTF-8. If there's an error, we're going to log those out. Same thing with a success. Then we're going to close it. Now this is a little tricky, you guys might not have seen this, but before we call our callback, we want the exif tool to go ahead and shut down well. So I'm going to give it 500 milliseconds to let it kind of clean up and be done, because it's doing some file manipulation. But this is all synchronous in series, and then when it's done, it will go ahead and kick this all out. So I'm going to kick this guy off and let you guys see what it's doing as we go. So if we say go here, and we watch here, you'll see that it is replacing these images as it goes along. So it's got the original stashed here beside it. So let's go look at 001 and look at the details here, and you'll see that it's put the author and the copyright properly inside the metadata. So now when you share these images to a printer, anybody who's going to print or do anything like that, you've actually got your embedded metadata, and it handles this all synchronously and is running it very, very quickly. It's kind of nice. So this is just a quick little tool for you guys to use. This is a couple of concepts I wanted to cover here are the async each series, so that you can do things in an orderly fashion and call back. This async library is really, really powerful. Same thing is we also wanted to look at how we read files. And a big one that's kind of good is command line arguments, knowing how to do these command line arguments. I really hope you guys got something out of this. I will post links to all of the libraries I used in the description, and I appreciate your liking and thumbs upping the 5 Minute Fridays. They are becoming very fun to build. Thank you.